Alright guys, so today's video, we're going to check out a pair of AirPods 3 clone that's already claiming to be a one-for-one super copy of the AirPods 3. Now, a lot of times when I do these videos, I always get questions as to why I would cover a pair of clones. I've always been interested when a company can basically make the exact same product with the same weight, using the same chip, having a lot of the same features and the same quality, and come in at a third of the cost, because the AirPods 3 come in at 180 bucks, but these pair of AirPod 3 clones come in at only 50. Now, I did pick these up from a website called Moweek, which I will put in the description below. It does take about 2 weeks to get these, so it's not like buying a pair of AirPods 3 off Amazon and it'll just show up at your door tomorrow. So definitely keep in mind that there is a little bit more of a waiting period. But we're gonna check out these clones and see if it's worth that third of a price and see what they maybe skimped out on and see if it's not actually a super clone of the AirPods 3. So to start with, one of the main selling points is the H1 chip that comes in the AirPods 3. This is what allows you to have that pop-up connection feature. This is what allows you to have that spatial audio head tracking. It also allows you to audio share with other devices that have that H1 chip. And I'm happy to say that the clones have the same H1 chip. You're able to have all of those same features. I noticed that everything worked just the same as it did with my AirPods 3. So that is definitely a huge plus right off the bat, especially if you're somebody that uses a lot of different Apple devices. Everything that your Apple ID is connected to, it's gonna be very easy to jump from one device to the other with this clones, just the same as it is with the AirPods 3. Now the clones also claim to have an Ipx6 rating, which the AirPods 3 are IPX4. That means the clones actually even have a little bit more water protection than the AirPods 3. Now, some other things that it shares is the clones use the same squeeze gesture controls. The case on them also is Qi wireless charging compatible, just like the AirPods 3, and it has smart sensors. But this is definitely where there is a difference, because on the AirPods 3, their smart sensors are actually using skin detect. So if you took your AirPods out of your ears, it would just auto pause. You could actually sit the AirPods on the desk or sit them in your pocket, and it wouldn't resume your music because it's only going to react if it senses your skin. And the clones doesn't do that. It has smart sensors, but it's only based off something actually being by it. So if I took the clones out of my ears, it would auto pause, but if I put the clones down on the desk or put them in my pocket, they would just start playing again. It's just basically like all of the older version of AirPods, because the AirPods 3 is the first one to use the skin detect feature. Now, as far as the battery life on the clones, those are also identical to the AirPods 3. Now, you're going to get around 6 hours of use on a single charge, but with the charging case, you actually get around 30 hours total. And I think this is pretty decent battery life. It's basically like having the same battery life as the AirPods 3. Now, one thing that I did notice on their website, it does say that it has like noise reduction and ambient mode and basically like a speak to wake feature. This doesn't work on the clones, but this isn't a feature that's on the AirPods 3, so I'm not really sure why they listed it on their site. I did try all the controls that it said and nothing worked. So it says it has this feature on the site, but don't expect the clones to actually have this. Now, on the packaging itself, this is the actual AirPods 3 case, and you can see that one earbud is a little bit higher than the other, where on the clones, they actually put them side by side. And there's no Apple logo on the clones. There's actually no print on the side of the box of the clones. But on the back of the packaging, another difference, you can see that it's completely different print. So as far as packaging goes, they didn't clone this, as to where I have seen clones in the past actually use the Apple logo and use everything exactly the same. So there is a difference between the two. But I was surprised that the AirPods that's printed on the front actually has that raised print. So you can feel the texture of the print, which is identical to what Apple does with the AirPods 3. Now, as far as everything else that's in the box, it does have the little tray that holds your paperwork. Now, the paperwork is not identical to the one in the AirPods 3. You don't get an Apple sticker, but it does give you what your controls and everything are. Also, behind the case in the packaging is where you'll find your lightning cable. It is wrapped up a little bit different, but for the most part, you're getting everything exactly the same as the AirPods 3. It's just kind of laid out a little bit differently. Let's now move over to the actual case and the earbuds themselves, because honestly, who's walking around with the packaging? I mean, I don't think that's the most important thing here. The most important thing is, how did they do cloning the case and the earbuds and everything else? Now, if you pick up both of these, I can say that it feels like the AirPods 3 might have slightly more weight to them, but it is the same texture. It has that same gloss. On the back, it's using that same hinge, but you can see on the back of the clones, there's no print to tell you some information like it does on the back of the AirPods 3. But on the bottom, you see the lightning port, and then around in the front, they're using that same single indicator light that's up front. So, you know, for somebody that's not completely familiar with AirPods, you would pick up the clones and honestly probably would never notice that there's not print on the back right above that pairing button. But moving over to the actual earbuds or AirPods themselves, I was surprised again at how well they were able to clone these. In fact, the only difference that I could see is on the top of the earbuds, where it's actually showing like a grill on the AirPods 3. The top of it on the clones looks darker. You don't see what looks to be the same screen that they use on the AirPods 3. And then the only other difference is if you're looking into the actual earbud that's going into your ear canal, on the AirPods 3 you can see the driver, where with the clones I didn't see the driver. And this just could be because they're not using that same mesh grill, but honestly that's nitpicking. But I wanted to point these things out because if you held them next to a light, these would be the things that you'd see that are different. But other than that, everything else was exactly the same. They both use the same squeeze controls. They both have the same controls, which means you still don't have volume control on the clones because you don't get volume control on the AirPods 3 either. And that's just disappointing in general, but that's how I feel about earbuds that don't have volume control. So really, from a design standpoint, it's kind of incredible that they pretty much matched up everything. Everything kind of feels the same. I do feel like there may be a difference in the microphones, which AirPods are generally known for how well their microphones perform. But I do want you guys to hear a side-by-side, basically so you can be the judge yourself. So go ahead and check out the samples here.
So here is a mic test using the AirPods 3. This is just so you can see a comparison to how they stack up against the clones, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here's the mic test using the clones. That way you can see the difference between using the clones and using the AirPods 3. There is a difference when it comes to the mic quality, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call on the clones. And so now here is a mic test on the AirPods 3 with a crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And that way you can compare what they would sound like if you were to take a call in public. And finally, here's a mic test using the clones with a crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And that way you can see what it would sound like if you were to use the clones by taking a call in public.
So now let's talk about the sound, because obviously some people could just be buying the clones just to make it seem like they have a pair of AirPods. I mean, you do have to keep in mind there's just a lot of people that can't afford AirPods, but they still want it to seem like they have a pair, or just in general. I mean, if you could get a pair that performs the exact same as another pair but at a third of the cost, it might just make more sense to buy the clones, but that's completely up to the buyer. Obviously, you're not going to get the same kind of warranty, and maybe that's just more peace of mind to buy the originals. But if you don't care about anything like that, having these clones, I can say, even from an audio standpoint, is identical. I could not tell the difference in the audio quality between the clones and the AirPods 3. And I think that says a lot in itself, because a lot of people have seemed to really like the sound quality from the AirPods 3. And I can say that the clone does the exact same job. If I noticed anything that might be slightly different, I would even say that the clones might have a little bit more bass. Now, it's not going to be hugely noticeable, even if that is the case, but I did do side-by-side comparisons with the exact same tracks and couldn't tell much of a difference between one over the other. So I easily can say that it's not worth spending 3 times the money if you're just looking from an audio standpoint. I feel like I was getting the same quality out of these as I was getting the AirPods 3. So guys, that's kind of a quick look at these clones that I picked up. I'm just surprised at how some companies can go out there, and I don't know how they do it, but it's exactly the same. I mean, the case feels the same, the earbuds feel the same, they perform the same other than not having that skin detect feature. But getting the H1 chip and getting a lot of the features that people are paying for when they're buying Apple AirPods, I just think it's kind of crazy that you can pick them up for 50 bucks. But guys, that wraps up my video on the AirPod 3 clones, which I think they're calling the Moweek Pod 3. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.